I'm so pleased to welcome to the show Shakya Cherry-Donaldson. She's founder and executive director of 1,000 Women Strong. It's a national organizing hub for Black women, built by Black women. We're going to be joined in just a few minutes by Deval Patrick, the former governor of Massachusetts. But while I have you here to myself, tell me about your organization.
Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Shakya Cherry-Donaldson, and in 2020, after being an organizer since I was 19, I've done the doors, I've done canvassing, all of the above. I was working for a program that saw the labor or the results of the labor, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, we knocked 1,000 doors. Oh, we sent out 10,000 postcards, but nobody was talking about the actual organizing that was behind all of that labor and all of that work, and particularly honoring the legacy of Black women organizing in this country. We have been at the forefront of every major movement in this country.
Saved democracy, I would say, roughly.
We try.
From time to time.
We try. So,
did you find you had a knack for that kind of organizing?
I did. So I said I was a rabble rouser in high school. I was an activist.
What?
I was an anti-war activist. New York City. I came from a union family.
Which war? War in Iraq?
War in Iraq.
It's not a popular war.
No, not at all. And so to see that progression, then go to school, travel the world, come back, and then
wait, travel the world? Why? How? For
how?
What?
So went to Korea to teach English in 2008.
Wow!
Because I graduated in the middle of a global recession.
They don't get a lot of Black women in Korea.
They do not. They do not. But there is a kinship in a community because of Black expats from the Korean War.
Ah, interesting.
So while they did not get a lot of Black women teachers, there was a fondness and a I would say a kinship around Black American GIs that came to help fight for South Korea.
That must have made it nice.
Yeah, it was. So I was there for 2 years. Then I went to Australia and got my master's degree. Yep, at the University of Sydney. And then
did you love Sydney?
I did.
What
it was
amazing.
It is amazing. And then I came back and went straight to the South and working for the Children's Defense Fund under Marion Wright Edelman, who's the founder of Mississippi Freedom Summers. And so coming back into this work, I knew that I was bringing a level of experience and a broader out view of the world, I guess I would say, about how we get to shape our democracy. Organizing, when I first started, was such a resistance. We're fighting against, we're fighting back. We don't like what they're doing, so we're fighting. But in this season, and why I wanted to create 1,000 Women Strong, is because we could fight to create.
Right, fight in the affirmative.
Right.
For something, not against something.
It
must
can be
a
something
total
new.
switch.
We don't even have to know what it is yet to have it. We don't have to have it down perfectly to know that we are striving for something bigger and better.
But you knew that it worked.
I knew it worked.
And you knew how to put it together.
Oh, yeah. And so we were all at home. I mean, really, in 2020. So I started to organize women right where we were on our couches. I pulled money out of my own account and did a digital campaign. Over 30,000 women signed up between September and November.
Toward what end? What was the pitch?
Are you here to build a more beautiful future for you and your family?
That
fantastic. Was it. That was the pitch. Are you here to build a more beautiful future for you and your family? Sign up. Learn more. And then the runoff came home. We are many of my team are alumni of Abrams 2018. So when the Georgia runoff came for Ossoff and Warnock home, I wrote my first field program under the organization.
Wow!
And in 6 weeks, we knocked over 40,000 doors.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We've been talking this week about how door knocking seems quaint and old-fashioned and low-tech, but it is so effective. Tell us about your experience door knocking.
For sure. This year, we're expected to have over 1,000 canvassers across our 8 states, which include Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Michigan. We are slated to knock over 600,000 doors and talk to over 1.2 million people. It is our primary form of voter contact. It is all paid programming because, again, in 2020, everything got highlighted as hazardous work. And, someone going and putting themselves out and having to know the pitch and know what they're talking about in their community, it is paid work. It is organized labor.
Yeah.
And so So we're honoring that and hiring Black men and women across the country to work directly in their community to mobilize the vote.
Have you found in your recruiting that people want to get involved? They want an opportunity?
Oh, yes.
And when you say, here's an opportunity, they're like, I've been wanting to get involved.
I'm not going to hold you that that Sunday afternoon at 2:30 when I called it the Beyonce moment of politics, world stopped. Okay. But like everybody was on my phone. Like it was a switch. People were disengaged. People didn't feel called to participate in what they saw. But then when it all shifted, I mean, we have hundreds of volunteers now.
I bet.
Signing up for house parties, postcard parties, what else? Doing text banking, right? Like, yes, we have things to do. Yes, come help. Come in, help. Let's do it.
The organization is called 1,000 Women Strong. We're talking with Shakya Cherry-Donaldson. She's founder and executive director. So this is your first convention?
It is. So I was at home 4 years ago. It was virtual, but I was watching from home like everyone else. And I just couldn't have imagined being here today, 4 years later, head down, doing the work. And now we have an opportunity to expand our mission and our voice and like build our capacity. We're currently in 8 states. By 2026, we plan to be in 18. So this is our opportunity to meet partners that we're fostering new relationships.
So is politics, I mean, I know what you were doing before seems sort of politics adjacent, but this is elected office work. Right. Is it kind of different?
I say, so there are 3 prongs to our strategy, right? So there's elected officials, getting good folks elected that believe in our policy, supporting sustainable, life-changing policy that electeds can then get done. But then it's also the community day-to-day, right? The 365, and people use the example because, I come from an old school, but if you know how to get a stop sign in your community, you know how to get a president elected.
That's such a great point. It is the exact same skill set. It really is. Yeah.
So, so by working in Community 365 on community sustainable issues, or even again, you don't always have to be fighting against something, but a community vision, watching that come into life, then people are able to translate what they're doing locally into the national or even statewide broader frame.
Oh, that's so interesting. All right, so tell me what you're doing here.
So this week we're hosting a series of events with Black women from across the country, and the Collective PAC and several other leaders to make sure that we are still raising money. It's 75, 76. I've lost track of the tracker. 75 days left.
Oh, yeah. 75 days left. Shakya, it could be like 1,000. I don't know.
No, the countdown is real. But so we're here raising money and getting the word out about why door knocking, especially in this season, we feel all the energy, we feel the excitement, but it has to be transferred directly on the ground into the work. So excited to be here.
All right, the man has joined us.
Sorry,
sir. A little bit, but you know what? Shakya was holding it down. Deval Patrick.
Always does.
Right?
Always does.
Former 2-term governor of Massachusetts, current David R. Gergen Professor of the Practice of Public Leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School, also a gentleman farmer and a beekeeper. I got to throw that in. Governor, it's so nice to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you. I'm very well.
Welcome.
I'm breathless, trying to get around this.
Right.
This shindig is no small thing.
Right, and these are probably a lot of people you haven't seen in a bit.
In many cases, and therefore, if there isn't a way to get through, I was saying to Swanee, who's with me,
Swanee,
that I forgot my hat. I should have had my hat to
Did
get
you have
down
to wait
the
in a
hall.
line?
No, just people wanted to say hello.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's nice.
Shakya,
How are you?
I'm well.
It's wonderful to see you. She's doing meaningful work.
Oh, man, she was telling me about it. Yeah, 1,000 women. I mean, that seems, you're kind of lowballing it. Seems like more than 1,000, I got to think.
Yeah. When creating it, I said, what is a critical mass? What does it feel like when you see something coming and you know you cannot ignore it? And I said, have you ever seen 1,000 Black women come at you at the same time?
Everyone talking at once,
exactly.
right?
And to me, it embodies what it can be from local to national in relational organizing, right? Because you can organize 1,000 people in your town or 1,000 people in your county. It doesn't have to always be multi-state or federal work, right? So I do think in creating power in a critical mass, you don't need 1 million people. Can you get 1,000?
Right. And Governor, I have to think that the kind of groups that we're talking about, like 1,000 women, have huge impact.
They do, and they do beyond politics. I know we're talking about politics, but there is such a hunger, I think we all have as human beings, and maybe especially in these times, for a sense of community and connection. There's a profound loneliness and disaffection that an awful lot of people feel. It expresses itself in politics in ways, Julie, you and I have talked about before. I don't think the political dynamic is actually Democrat-Republican so much as it is inside or outside. And most people, you see this, right, when you're knocking doors, Shakya, and most people feel left out and left behind. So when somebody comes and says, don't just, I'm knocking on your door to get you to vote in the next election cycle, but I'm knocking on your door to help build a relationship that lasts. And we're going to do stuff beyond GOTV, getting out the vote. We're going to do stuff in between cycles. We're going to do stuff to figure out how we advocate once we win with our elected officials for the stuff we need in this place, or how we do stuff with the business community, the civic community. And I think the operative point here is community, and why I think this work is so critical.
And it seems often when people are knocking on doors, they're asking the resident, what do you care about? Like, what's important to you?
That's
right. And you're taking notes, and you're going to follow up, and this person's concerned about housing, and you're going to, right? And that's like a follow-up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the next time you going to the housing authority for something, you know exactly who to call and say, you cared about housing and we're working on this housing initiative. Would you like to join us? Would you like to help us? Would you like to learn more at capacity? So right, it comes directly to the person's what they need and what they care about, not the other way around.
And I think you're listening for consensus points. You hear about housing over here and the price of groceries over there, and then housing in the next 4 houses. And you start to get a sense, housing is...
It's a thing,
It's
right?
a thing, right?
And maybe it's not showing up in polls,
right,
but you're hearing about it anecdotally.
That's right. The other part that I don't think shows up in polls, and I'm not a pollster, and I'm a little skeptical. I love pollsters, but I'm a little skeptical of polling methodology. There is, it turns out, and I will say this from personal experience, there's actually electoral power in the gesture shown and the respect shown by asking. Just showing up and asking. You don't, may not be asking for a vote, but just showing up.
Well, and Governor, doesn't that go back to your point about the vast loneliness?
That's right.
People feel ignored and overlooked, and you go to them and say, what do you care about?
Right.
And it's like someone's been waiting to ask them.
Right. Or they're surprised, just, it's like sometimes I'm not sure. Let me think about it, but tell me about you. And then the organizer starts to make a cut, just like human beings do, just make a connection. And that becomes, over time, at its best, a relationship of trust. That relationship of trust then has to be stewarded and cared about and treated itself as a thing to respect and not something to exploit. And it can turn into, and again, I say this from personal experience, when I was running the first time in Massachusetts, into real political power. Turning that into organization is the big challenge right now, because there's a lot of enthusiasm. People want to be asked. They're interested in being asked. Turning it into organization is a project against the clock right now.
I love the way you talk about it, Governor. You make me a believer, and I don't believe in anything.
I know better than that.
Deval Patrick, former 2-term governor of Massachusetts, current David R. Gergen Professor of the Practice of Public Leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School. Shakya Cherry-Donaldson, founder and executive director of 1,000 Women Strong. It's a national organizing hub for Black women, built by Black women. Where can people find it online if they want to get involved?
Yes, all of our handles are 1K Women Strong on all social media platforms, and our website is www.1kwomenstrong.com.
What a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.